Colonization of Spanish America. Uh, After I mentioned before that the Spanish used the Caribbean as a base of operations. First, they went to Mexico, then they went to South America. There, they repeated a very similar pattern. They arrive to, they find out where is the strongest group. They find out it's Tehuantinsuyo that we know as the Inca. Instead of Cortez, it was Pizarro leading that group of Spanish. Instead of Moctezuma, it was Atahualpa that was at the head of Tehuantinsuyo, the people we know as Inca. And similarly, they went to the biggest group. They defeated that main group. They didn't set out to kill all Native Americans, even though 90% did die eventually from disease. They set out to defeat the group in charge, and then use that same hierarchy that already existed to get their own tribute, or maybe we'll start calling them taxes. With this using the same system that they had, and so there's this irony that the more powerful and the more hierarchically organized a group was, like the Aztecs, or who we refer to as the Inca, that way they could just defeat one group and then control a lot of Native American groups through that hierarchy. Whereas, as opposed to the Mayans, were just, they encountered them first, and they were, just south of the center of Mexico. Yet the Mayans went undefeated for hundreds of years. It's not until the middle of the 19th century that they're seen as conquered. And so again, it doesn't mean that the Spanish couldn't go to the Mayans and defeat any one tribe they wanted to, but there was no one tribe they could defeat and then control them all. And that's the difference. And not to mention that with hierarchy came the wealth of that group, plus the payment of tribute or taxes from all the groups they already controlled. All right, so first they go to Mexico, then they go to South America, then they go to what ends up becoming the United States, beginning with Florida. That group is led by Hernando de Soto. Hernando de Soto had he was part of the Spaniards who went to South America to defeat the people of Tehuantinsuyo. And so after that experience, he goes into Florida, leads his own army. From 1539 to 1543, his group goes through what now we would call the South, geographically the Southeast. In Florida, they come across Timucua. In South Carolina, Confitechequi. In Alabama, they come across the Coosa and Mobila people. And then finally, along the Mississippi River, they come across the Natchez. And for that, we could say it was in Mississippi or Louisiana, depending on what side of the river. When De Soto went through these areas, his army encountered a lot of people, large populations, and some of them he met peacefully, in peace, and others they fought with. In particular, when they would fight with a group and they would be mortally wounded, they would leave behind their mortally wounded. And then those people ended up infecting the Native Americans that were living there with diseases that went on to kill 90% of their population. When they get to the Mississippi River and encounter the Natchez get into a fight with them, and they mortally wound Hernando de Soto himself. So the Spanish go out and bury Hernando de Soto, and till this day, we don't know where he was buried. They say that the burial site was secret because they wanted the Native Americans to believe that the Spanish were immortal, that and De Soto in particular was like a god, and they didn't want him to know that he died. Regardless, the Natchez kicked them out of the area. So the remainder of De Soto's army goes down the Mississippi River and hops along the coast, making their way to Mexico, where they get reunited with Spanish society. Part of colonization is, all these places that people say, the Spanish founded this place and the English founded that place, etc. So on that note, what is the oldest continuously occupied community in what is now the United States? Well, it's a Native American community, because a reminder that Native Americans were here first, so it would make sense that the oldest inhabited communities would be Native American. Acoma Pueblo, New Mexico, and Taos Pueblo, New Mexico have been inhabited for almost 1,000 years. And they would be descendants of the Anasazi that I mentioned before. Now, what's the first city founded by Europeans in America? Well, a reminder that in this class, America is not just the United States, it's the Americas. And when Europeans first arrived to the Americas, they did not arrive to the United States, or what became the United States, they arrived to the Caribbean. So it makes sense that the first European city would have been in the Caribbean. 1496, Santo Domingo, modern day Dominican Republic, which is an island called Hispaniola, which is shared between the Dominican Republic and Haiti. All right, now what's the oldest continuously inhabited settlement founded by Europeans in what is now the United States? Well, again, the Spanish were the first ones, and the first place they went to was Florida. And so again, it makes sense that it would be in Florida. 1565, the Spanish, with the help of the indigenous people that remained there, helped establish St. Augustine, and it's been continuously populated ever since. Then they went on to found Santa Fe, New Mexico in 1607, again, with Native American help. And that's about the same time as Jamestown, Virginia in 1607. And then 1620, we have Plymouth Rock, Massachusetts. All right. I think I'm going to stop there for today.